When most people imagine Illinois, they see a world of two halves. The towering steel of Chicago or the endless, flat rows of quiet farmland. But beyond the city lights and the open fields, there is a secret Illinois waiting to be found. This is a land where ancient glaciers carve deep scars into the earth, leaving behind hidden canyons and mossy cliffs that feel like they belong in a fairy tale. Here, the prairies don't just stop, they transform into vast forests, where the air smells of pine and the only sound is the rhythm of a falling stream. Long ago, great civilizations built massive earthen empires here, leaving behind mysterious mounds that still guard the secrets of the past. These are stories written in soil and stone older than the country itself. From the rugged wind-sculpted towers of the South to the majestic bluffs overlooking the mighty Mississippi River, Illinois doesn't shout for your attention. Its magic is found in the quiet moments, the way the light hits a sandstone wall, or the stillness of a valley at dawn. It is a beauty that rewards the wanderer, the dreamer, and the curious. Get ready to leave the map behind. This is Illinois, tucked away and waiting, a side of the prairie state you never knew existed. Before we continue, here's a quick question for you. What is the state animal of Illinois? Comment your answer below. Just south of Chicago, beneath the wheels of thousands of commuters on the Tri-State Tollway, lies a chasm so vast it defies the flat topography of the Midwest. This is the Thornton Quarry, a colossal man-made canyon spanning 1.5 miles in length and 0.5 mile in width. It is a scar on the landscape of staggering proportions, plunging 450 feet into the earth. A void so immense that the entire village of Thornton could fit comfortably upon its floor. Long before the steel and glass of the city rose, this region was a submerged tropical paradise. Located near the equator, teeming with life in a warm, shallow sea. The jagged limestone walls mined here today are actually the calcified remains of a massive ancient reef, a biodiversity hotspot preserved in stone. Embedded within these grey cliffs are the ghosts of that lost world. Corals, crinoids, and the distinct pentamerid brachiopods that are commonly found across the quarry floor. It is a site of cosmic mystery as well. Researchers have uncovered evidence of a meteorite impact here. A celestial collision that struck the living reef over 400 million years ago. Yet, in the 21st century, the Thornton Quarry has assumed a new, critical role as a guardian against nature's fury. Recognised as the largest combined sewer reservoir in the world. This engineering marvel is capable of swallowing 7.9 billion gallons of storm and sewage water. Sealed by a massive grout curtain to protect the surrounding groundwater. It stands as a fortress for over 500,000 residents across 14 communities, preventing the devastating floods and waterway pollution that once plagued Chicago's southern suburbs. This is not just a small town frozen in time. Galena is a place where rivers once carried dreams, stones shaped history, and ordinary people helped build a nation. More than 1,000 years ago, Native American tribes like the Meskwaki and Ho-Chunk were already mining galena from these hills. In 1658, French explorers recorded large lead deposits here, after hearing about them from native tribes. By the early 1800s, Galena became the center of the first major mineral rush in the United States. Thousands of miners and traders moved in, and the population grew from a few hundred to nearly 10,000 people in just a few years. At that time, Galena was as large and busy as Chicago. By the 1840s, this region produced most of the lead used in the United States. The wealth from mining built strong brick buildings, many of which still line the streets today. Galena also became home to Ulysses S. Grant, years before he became a Civil War general and president. Oak Park is a village in Illinois, located right next to Chicago, with a population of just over 50,000 people. It was first settled in 1835 by early farmers, and officially became its own village in 1902 after separating from the town of Cicero. In the late 1800s, railroads and streetcars connected Oak Park to downtown Chicago, making it easy for people to live here and travel to work every day. This easy travel helped the village grow quickly, turning it from farmland into one of Chicago's most important suburbs. In 1889, architect Frank Lloyd Wright moved to Oak Park and designed many homes here, including his own house and studio. Today, Oak Park has the largest group of Frank Lloyd Wright homes in the world, which is why many visitors come to see its unique streets. In 1968, the village passed an open housing law to welcome people of different races and backgrounds to live together. That decision helped Oak Park become a diverse and multicultural community that it remains today. Nearly 17,000 years ago, a massive wall of water crashed through this land. It carved deep canyons and strange cliffs where flat plains once stood. That disaster created what we now call starved rock. This wasn't just a regular river, it was a catastrophic flood from a melting glacier called the Kankakee Torrent. It ripped through the soft St. Peter sandstone, leaving behind 18 deep canyons that look like something from the American West. The park gets its haunting name from a dark local legend about a bitter tribal war in 1769. Stories say a band of Illinois warriors fled to the top of the rock to escape their enemies, the Ottawa and Potawatomi. Trapped with no way down for food or water, the entire group supposedly starved to death on that high summit. Even though historians debate if the siege really happened, the tragic name Starved Rock stuck forever. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, young men in the Civilian Conservation Corps moved in to transform the area. They hand-built the massive log lodge and over 25 miles of hiking trails that over 2 million people explore today. Northfield is a small village in Cook County, Illinois, about 19 miles north of downtown Chicago on the North Shore. The village was incorporated in 1926 and has slowly grown from farm fields into a peaceful suburban community. Northfield is known for its quiet, tree-lined streets and open spaces, including parks and nature paths that invite residents to walk, bike, and relax. Many families choose to live here because the area has highly regarded schools and a comfortable, small town feel not far from big city life. Nestled along the winding banks of the Rock River, Rockford stands as a testament to the harmonious convergence of industrial heritage and natural beauty. Known enduringly as the Forest City, this Illinois settlement boasts a landscape defined by expansive parks and tree-lined boulevards that soften the edges of its urban core. Its history is deeply rooted in the mid-19th century, when a significant wave of Swedish immigrants helped transform the region into a global powerhouse for furniture manufacturing and heavy machinery. The St. Mary Roman Catholic Oratory and St. Mary's Church stands as a historic sentinel, offering a glimpse into the architectural and spiritual traditions that have shaped the community. Meanwhile, the Fordham Dam stretches across the rushing waters, serving as a rugged monument to the engineering feats that harnessed the river for urban development. Just northwest of Chicago, you'll find the village of Wauconda, a place named after an indigenous chief. The name actually translates to spirit water, which is perfect because the town is built right next to a beautiful lake. In the mid-1800s, families travelled from far away in covered wagons to settle in this beautiful lakeside spot. By the early 1900s, Wauconda became a famous vacation spot where families from the city came to play at the beach. A small railroad used to bring these vacationers into town, along with fresh mail and supplies for the local farmers. This village has grown from a tiny pioneer outpost into a thriving town, where over 14,000 people now call home. Few people realize that Peoria, Illinois, is the oldest permanent European settlement in the state, founded in 1691 by French explorer Henri de Tonty. Built along the Illinois River, Peoria first grew as a strategic trading post where Native American roots and European commerce met. The city takes its name from the Peoria people, part of the Illinois Confederation, whose homeland shaped the region long before modern borders existed. In the 1800s, the river turned Peoria into a powerful shipping hub, moving corn, soybeans, and livestock from central Illinois to national markets. Before Prohibition, Peoria became the heart of America's whiskey industry, with more than a dozen distilleries operating by the late 19th century. In 1854, Peoria entered national history when Abraham Lincoln delivered his famous speech here opposing the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Manufacturing later defined the city, especially heavy machinery that supported farms, roads, and cities across the country. Today, Peoria's riverfront blends working history with quiet Midwestern beauty, where water, industry, and community still meet. Just north of Chicago, Evanston grew from wetlands and forest into one of the most intellectually influential cities on Lake Michigan. Before settlers arrived, Potawatomi Native Americans traveled along high ridges here, using paths that later shaped modern streets. In the 1850s, Methodist leaders chose Evanston as the home of Northwestern University, anchoring the city's future around education. Evanston's location along Lake Michigan gives it open skies, wide water views, and a shoreline that changes with every season. During the 1960s, Evanston physically reshaped its lakefront by adding 74 acres of land. The city has often stood at the front of social change, including its long history as a dry community until the 1970s. In 2021, Evanston became the first US city to approve housing reparations for black residents affected by past discrimination. Today, Evanston blends academic energy, historic neighborhoods, and a calm lakeside atmosphere that feels thoughtful and deeply human. Few neighborhoods in Chicago have changed their purpose as dramatically as Lincoln Park, once used as a cemetery on the city's northern edge. In the early 1800s, this area sat outside Chicago's limits. Shaped by Native American trails like the Green Bay Trail, now known as Clark Street. As the city grew and cholera outbreaks spread, residents began to question whether burial grounds belonged so close to new homes. In 1860, the city decided to close the cemetery and slowly transform the land into a public green space for everyday life. After the Civil War and the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, the park was renamed in his honor, giving the area its lasting identity. Over time, the name Lincoln Park came to describe not just the park itself, but the surrounding neighborhood as well. Immigrant communities later shaped the streets nearby, especially Polish Kashubian families who built churches, schools, and close-knit blocks. By the early 1900s, Lincoln Park had become a place where working families, culture, and city life met near the lake. Today, tall trees, open lawns, and lake breezes give Lincoln Park a calm beauty that feels rare in a major American city. In 1893, as the world gathered for the World's Columbian Exposition, Chicago Harbor Lighthouse rose as a symbol of modern engineering and ambition. Built to guide ships into Chicago Harbor, the lighthouse first stood closer to the fairgrounds before being moved to its current position in 1919. Today, it stands at the end of the northern breakwater, just east of Navy Pier and the mouth of the Chicago River. Its design is unusual and striking, with a white cylindrical tower set between two low buildings topped by red roofs. Surrounded by open water and stone riprap, the tower feels isolated yet calm, standing alone against the wide blue of Lake Michigan. For more than a century, its light has quietly helped guide ships through fog, darkness, and heavy lake weather. Recognized for its importance, the lighthouse is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and named a Chicago landmark. Seen best from Navy Pier or the water, Chicago Harbor Lighthouse remains a graceful reminder of the city's deep connection to the lake and maritime history. Opened in 1858, Joliet Correctional Center quickly became one of the most recognizable landmarks in the city of Joliet, Illinois. Built from limestone quarried directly on site, the prison's thick stone walls give it a heavy, fortress-like look that still feels imposing today. For nearly 145 years, Joliet Correctional Center operated as the Illinois State Penitentiary, holding inmates from across northern Illinois. During the Civil War, the prison even housed prisoners of war, tying it directly to one of the most critical periods in American history. By the late 1800s, Joliet Prison was overcrowded and slow to modernize, with basic living conditions remaining harsh well into the 20th century. Some of America's most famous criminals passed through its gates, including Leopold and Loeb, whose 1924 trial shocked the nation. Long after its working years, Joliet Correctional Center found a second life in popular culture, becoming a famous filming location. Are you looking for a place with the energy of New York and the romance of endless shorelines? Welcome to Chicago, where you can taste flavors from every culture. Stand in awe of world-class architecture and reach out to touch the crystal-clear waters of the lake. Chicago sits on the southwestern shore of Lake Michigan, a location that helped it grow into a major American city. In 1837, Chicago officially became a city, connecting the Great Lakes to the Mississippi River through trade and travel. This connection brought people, goods, and ideas, allowing the city to grow quickly in the 19th century. In 1871, the Great Chicago Fire destroyed large parts of the city and left over 100,000 people without homes. Instead of giving up, the city rebuilt itself using stronger materials and new ideas. This rebuilding led to the creation of steel-frame skyscrapers, changing how tall buildings were designed around the world. Today, Chicago is known as a global center for architecture, business, and culture. The city is home to many communities, each bringing its own food, music, and traditions. Jazz, blues, and house music were shaped here, becoming part of Chicago's cultural identity. When Millennium Park opened in 2004, it transformed a former rail yard and parking lot into one of the most visited public spaces in the United States. Located in downtown Chicago near Lake Michigan, Millennium Park covers 24.5 acres within Grant Park and sits above active rail lines and parking garages. Because of this design, Millennium Park is often called the world's largest rooftop garden. The park was the result of an ambitious city project that began in the late 1990s and cost about $475 million to complete, despite delays and criticism during construction. Millennium Park is now widely praised for its bold architecture and public accessibility. At the heart of the park stands Cloud Gate, also known as the Bean. Created by artist Anish Kapoor and unveiled in 2005. Millennium Park is also home to open-air performance spaces, modern fountains, and carefully designed gardens that soften the surrounding city streets. With free entry and year-round events, the park welcomes locals and travellers alike, drawing more than 25 million visitors each year. Few cities in the world have a river that was literally forced to flow backward, and the Chicago River is one of them. Flowing through the heart of downtown Chicago, the Chicago River cuts directly through the Chicago Loop, shaping the city's skyline and history. This river is a key link between Lake Michigan and the Mississippi River system, connecting the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. In the late 1800s, Chicago made a bold engineering decision and reversed the river's flow to protect the city's drinking water. Completed in 1900, the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal changed the river's direction and became a global engineering milestone. Today, the Chicago River is lined with iconic skyscrapers, riverwalk cafes, and historic bridges that open and close like moving sculptures. One of the most famous moments happens every March when the Chicago River turns bright green for St. Patrick's Day. This tradition began in 1961 and has become one of the most recognizable celebrations in Chicago. Standing at the heart of Grant Park, Buckingham Fountain is one of Chicago's most iconic landmarks and one of the largest fountains in the world. Dedicated in 1927, the fountain was a gift to the city from philanthropist Kate S. Buckingham. Created in memory of her brother, Clarence Buckingham, its grand design is inspired by the Latona Fountain at the Palace of Versailles, shaped like an elaborate Rococo wedding cake. The fountain symbolically represents Lake Michigan, with 4 pairs of seahorses standing for the 4 states that border the lake: Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana. Designed by architect Edward H. Bennett and sculpted by Marcel F. Loyo. The structure is built from Georgia pink marble and holds 1.5 million gallons of water. From spring to fall, the fountain comes alive every hour with water shows, sending a central jet soaring 150 feet into the air. After sunset, the displays transform into dramatic performances of water, music, and colored lights. Often called Chicago's front door, Buckingham Fountain sits where the city opens toward Lake Michigan. Located in southwest Oregon, the Illinois River flows for 50 miles from the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest to its meeting point with the Rogue River. This protected stretch was added to the National Wild and Scenic River System in 1984 because of its clean water, rich wildlife, and untouched scenery. On hot summer days, people come here to cool off in the river's clear, emerald-coloured water. The Illinois River in Oregon is famous for whitewater rafting, with fast rapids that attract experienced paddlers from across the West. It is also a safe home for wild salmon and the steelhead, making it one of the most important rivers for fish in the region. Tall forests, rocky canyons, and quiet beaches line the river, creating a landscape that feels truly wild. Lake Michigan is one of the 5 Great Lakes of North America, and the only one located entirely within the United States. It is massive in scale, stretching across Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan, and holding more water than almost any freshwater lake on Earth. The lake's name comes from an Ojibwe word meaning great water, a fitting description for a body of water that often looks and feels like an inland sea. Beneath its surface, Lake Michigan holds cold, clear water that supports species such as trout, salmon, whitefish, and lake sturgeon. Over time, changes in nutrients and invasive species have reduced the amount of food available for fish in open water, affecting the lake's natural balance. Rivers flowing into the lake play a crucial role, providing spawning routes for fish and carrying nutrients that shape nearshore ecosystems. In places like Green Bay, too many nutrients can trigger algae blooms that damage water quality and wildlife, showing how fragile the system can be. Despite these challenges, Lake Michigan remains the heart of the Great Lakes salmon fishery and a vital resource for recreation, commerce, and life across the Midwest. Most people think Navy Pier was designed to be fun from the start. In reality, it was created as Municipal Pier in 1916 to serve military and commercial purposes. At the time, it stood as one of the largest piers on Lake Michigan, built to strengthen Chicago's role as a major port city. In 1927, the pier was renamed Navy Pier to honor the sailors of the United States Navy. During World War II, this place became a recruitment and training center for thousands of naval personnel. After the war ended, Navy Pier slowly shifted away from military use and opened itself to the public. By the late 20th century, the pier was no longer just a harbour, but a gathering place for the city. A major renovation in 1995 transformed it into a full-scale entertainment and cultural destination. Today, Navy Pier stretches 3,300 feet along the shoreline of Lake Michigan. It covers more than 50 acres. Filled with restaurants, theatres, parks, gardens, and family attractions. The Ferris wheel has become one of its most recognisable features, offering panoramic views of Chicago and the lake. Each year, over 9 million visitors come here, making it one of the most visited attractions in the Midwest. Pilsen's story begins with struggle, but it unfolds into one of Chicago's most layered and meaningful neighborhoods. In the 1840s, Irish immigrants settled this area and built the Illinois and Michigan Canal Ogden Avenue and early rail lines that helped Chicago grow into a major city. The neighborhood got its name from a Czech restaurant inspired by the city of Pilsen, reflecting its strong Bohemian roots. That history still lives on in Pilsen's neo-Bohemian buildings, with ornate details and mixed-use facades lining the streets. Naperville sits quietly along the DuPage River, just 28 miles west of Chicago. Yet it carries a story that reaches back nearly 2 centuries. The city was founded in 1831 by Joseph Naper, who chose the riverbanks as the heart of what was first called Naper's Settlement. By 1832, more than 100 people had already built homes here, drawn by water, land, and opportunity. In 1839, when DuPage County separated from Cook County, Naperville became the county seat, placing it at the center of local government. That role lasted until 1868, marking an important chapter in the city's early political life. For many decades, Naperville remained a small river town shaped by steady, everyday growth. Everything changed in the 1960s, when Chicago's urban sprawl began pushing westward and Naperville's population surged. Despite this rapid growth, the DuPage River still gives Naperville a calm, scenic character that feels balanced and welcoming. Today, Naperville reflects a rare blend of early settlement history and modern suburban life, rooted firmly in its riverfront beginnings. Stay with us, because Naperville is just one stop. And the next places across Illinois reveal even more surprising story and landscapes you won't expect. Many people are surprised to learn that Chicago has 26 miles of beaches. And North Avenue Beach is one of the most famous among them. Located in Lincoln Park along Lake Michigan, North Avenue Beach sits just minutes from downtown Chicago. This beach became popular as the city grew northward, when leaders decided the lakefront should stay open and public for everyone. Unlike ocean beaches, Lake Michigan is a massive freshwater lake, which means no salt, no tides, and cooler water even in summer. North Avenue Beach is known as one of the most active swimming areas in the city, especially during the guarded hours from late morning to early evening. From the shoreline, visitors can clearly see the Chicago skyline, with the John Hancock Center dominating the view across the water. The beach is surrounded by paths used for walking, biking, and running, making it part of Chicago's everyday outdoor life. Because parking is limited and expensive in summer, many locals reach North Avenue Beach by bus, train, or bicycle. Here, North Avenue Beach shows how Chicago blends city life, public planning, and natural beauty along Lake Michigan. Would you love to stand by this beach one day? Drop a 1 if yes, or a 2 if it's now on your travel bucket list. In 1930, Chicago opened the Adler Planetarium, becoming the first planetarium in the United States. The Adler Planetarium was founded by Max Adler, a local businessman who believed astronomy should be shared with the public. It sits on the northeastern tip of Northerly Island, right along Lake Michigan, facing an open sky and wide horizon. When the Adler Planetarium opened to visitors on May 12, 1930, many Americans were seeing the stars explained this way for the first time. The building was designed by architect Ernest A. Grunsfeld Jr., whose work earned major architectural awards soon after. Few people realize that long before Arlington Heights became a Chicago suburb, this land was part of a major Native American migration route. In the early 1700s, the area was used seasonally by the Potawatomi people, who camped here each year as they moved between summer and winter settlements. This changed in 1833, when the Treaty of Chicago transferred the land to the United States, opening it to rapid white settlement. At that time, the government bought the land for about 15 cents per acre and sold it to settlers for $1.25 per acre. The village began as a small stop along native trails. That later became major roads, still used today. Growth accelerated in the 1850s when a railroad line was built through the area, making travel to Chicago faster and easier. German immigrants soon arrived in large numbers, turning the surrounding land into productive farms and nurseries that supplied food to the city. During the Civil War, Arlington Heights served as a transit point for Union soldiers moving north and south by train. By 1874, the growing settlement officially adopted the name Arlington Heights and began developing into an early commuter suburb. Promontory Point did not exist naturally because this stretch of land was built from landfill and shaped by human design along Lake Michigan. Opened to the public in 1937, Promontory Point sits in Burnham Park on Chicago's south side. Engineers protected the peninsula with a limestone revetment in the late 1930s, creating a strong stone edge that still defines the shoreline today. The landscape was designed by Alfred Caldwell, a student of Jens Jensen, who followed prairie school principles using native plants and natural stone. At the center of Promontory Point, Caldwell created a raised meadow surrounded by trees and shrubs meant to reflect the Illinois prairie. In 2023, Promontory Point was officially named a Chicago landmark, recognizing its design, history, and role in everyday city life. Located on Lake Michigan at Chicago's Museum campus, Shedd Aquarium became the first inland aquarium in the United States, with a permanent saltwater collection. When it opened on May 30th, 1930, it was the largest indoor aquarium in the world, a bold achievement for its time. The building holds 5 million gallons of water and is home to about 32,000 animals from freshwater and marine environments. Shedd Aquarium contains around 1,500 species, including fish, marine mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and insects. Over the decades, Shedd Aquarium has earned national recognition for major exhibits like Wild Reef and Amazon Rising. In 1987, the aquarium was named a National Historic Landmark, honoring its scientific and cultural importance. By the early 2000s, Shedd Aquarium became one of the most visited aquariums in the Western Hemisphere. In August 1874, Chicago opened Garfield Park to the public as part of a bold plan to bring green space to the city's west side. Spanning 184 acres in the East Garfield Park neighborhood, it became the western anchor of Chicago's park and boulevard system. The original designer was William LeBaron Jenney, an engineer who would later be known as the father of the modern skyscraper. Before that fame, Jenney studied park design in Paris. And those French ideas shaped the wide paths and open views of Garfield Park. At first, the park was meant for quiet activities like walking, picnicking, and enjoying carefully arranged scenery. In 1881, the park was renamed to honor President James A. Garfield after his assassination earlier that year. A major shift came in 1905 when landscape architect Jens Jensen took over and began reshaping the park using prairie-style principles. In one building, you can stand face-to-face with a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then step into a world that existed thousands of years before written history. That is the idea behind the Field Museum, which opened in Chicago in 1894 after the city's World's Fair. The museum was named for Marshall Field, a local businessman who believed Chicago should invest in science and culture. Today, the Field Museum holds more than 40 million objects, making it one of the largest natural history collections in the world. Its most famous fossil, Sioux, the T-Rex, is the most complete and best preserved specimen of its kind ever discovered. Beyond dinosaurs, the museum allows visitors to study ancient civilizations through real objects, not replicas or stories alone. The museum sits on Chicago's museum campus along Lake Michigan, beside other major scientific institutions. Through its exhibits and research, the Field Museum connects everyday visitors to the deep history of our planet. Visitors could step directly into everyday life of the 1800s. At 19th century Willowbrook Village in Newfield, Maine. This open-air museum covered about 10 acres and brought together 34 historic buildings from the 19th century. Before 1947, this area was the historic center of Newfield, until a massive wildfire swept through York County and destroyed much of it. In the 1960s, Don King began buying land around the pond and carefully restoring old buildings and artifacts. Willowbrook Village officially opened to the public on May 1st, 1970, offering a hands-on look at rural New England history. In 2016, Willowbrook Village closed permanently, leaving behind a preserved record of how 19th century communities once lived and worked. Northwestern University is the oldest chartered university in Illinois, created to serve the growing Midwest. Although it began with ties to the Methodist Episcopal Church, the university later became fully non-sectarian. By the year 1900, Northwestern had grown so rapidly that it ranked as the third largest university in the United States. The university played a major role in American higher education by becoming a founding member of the Big Ten Conference in 1896. In 1917, Northwestern joined the Association of American Universities, marking its rise as a national research institution. Today, Northwestern operates 11 schools covering fields such as law, journalism, engineering, medicine, and management. Northwestern has produced generations of influential scholars, including Nobel Prize winners, Pulitzer Prize recipients, and Supreme Court justices. Our next stop is Chillicothe, a peaceful river town named after a group of people from the Shawnee Nation. It sits right along the Illinois River, which helped the town grow by moving big boats and barges toward Chicago. Long ago, a major railroad picked this specific spot to build a massive bridge to help trains cross the wide water. The town is also famous for a man named Ilian Crabble, who served as the city clerk for a record-breaking 66 years. Sitting right on the Mississippi River, Alton is a historic city, famous for its massive limestone cliffs and river views. This river town played a crucial role in American history. From the final Lincoln-Douglas debate in 1858 to its deep ties to the Civil War and the fight against slavery, Alton was once a major gateway between free Illinois and slave state Missouri, making it a key stop on the Underground Railroad. The city's historic downtown reflects its past as a busy river and industrial hub. With brick streets, old grain silos, and riverfront rail lines, Alton is also home to the remains of Illinois' first state penitentiary, where thousands of Confederate prisoners were held during the Civil War. Despite floods and hardships, the city has endured. Today, Alton blends beautiful scenery, layered history, and quiet rivertown charm into one unforgettable stop along the Mississippi. Grant Park stretches across 319 acres in the heart of downtown Chicago, sitting between Michigan Avenue and Lake Michigan. It connects some of the city's most famous landmarks. This land was once part of Lake Michigan, slowly reclaimed over time to create open public space at the city's edge. From the very beginning, Chicago promised this area would remain public ground, free and open for everyone. That promise shaped Grant Park into what locals still call Chicago's front yard. Wide green lawns open toward the lake, while paths lead directly to museums, gardens, and performance spaces. Along the eastern edge, the blue of Lake Michigan meets the city, giving the park a calm, open feeling even in the middle of downtown. Grant Park's beauty comes from this balance of nature, culture, and history, all flowing together at the center of Chicago. Imagine buying an entire downtown for the price of a single candy bar. Back in the day, the heart of Northbrook was sold for just $1.25 per acre. That land later became downtown Northbrook, right here in Cook County, just north of Chicago. In the early 1800s, this area was mostly farmland, before settlers like Joel Sterling Sherman arrived from Connecticut. The village was first called Shermerville, named after Frederick Schirmer, who donated land for the town's first train station. In 1901, only 311 people lived here, with just 60 houses and a small farming community. Between 1950 and 1980, the population jumped from just over 3,000 to more than 30,000 people. Today, the downtown area now feels calm and welcoming, with local shops, cafes, and tree-lined streets. It took over 40 years to build this intricate lace in stone, because it was crafted during some of the toughest times in history. The building you are seeing is the Bahá'í House of Worship near Chicago, the oldest one still standing in the world. Construction began in 1912, but wars, economic hardship, and the Great Depression slowed progress for decades. Every detail was carefully shaped by hand, turning concrete into delicate patterns that look almost like lace. The temple was finally completed and dedicated in 1953. After generations worked toward the same vision. Its 9 sides and soaring dome were designed to symbolize unity and the oneness of humanity. Surrounding the building are peaceful gardens and quiet paths that invite visitors to slow down and breathe. People of all religions are welcome here, making it a rare place built for everyone, not just one faith. Standing here, it feels like history, art and hope all meet in one serene and unforgettable place. The Mississippi River starts at Lake Itasca in northern Minnesota, where the water is so narrow you can step across it. From there, it flows south through 10 states, including Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, and Louisiana, before reaching the Gulf of Mexico. Stretching more than 2,300 miles, the Mississippi is the second longest river in the United States, just behind the Missouri River. The river supports a $400 billion shipping industry, moving crops, fuel, and goods on barges between major cities like Minneapolis, St. Louis, and New Orleans. Nearly 95% of U.S. agricultural products come from land connected to the Mississippi River Basin. The river and its floodplain provide habitat for over 400 wildlife species, including fish, deer, and migratory birds. Almost half of all North American waterfowl fly along the Mississippi Flyway each year during migration. The Mississippi River also inspired American stories and music, from Mark Twain's River Tales to the blues of Muddy Waters. As it widens into the Louisiana Delta, the river slows down, spreads into wetlands, and becomes one of the most important ecosystems in North America. We gathered information from many different sources. If anything seems incorrect, or if you have something to add, please leave a comment. Hidden within the rolling hills of southern Illinois lies the Lake of Egypt, a 2,300-acre reservoir that defies the Midwest's frozen winters. This body of water is not a natural wonder, but a marvel of necessity. Created in 1962 when the Southern Illinois Power Cooperative dammed the South Fork of the Saline River to cool a coal-fired Titan on its western shore. The name whispers of the region's folklore, Little Egypt, harkening back to a 19th century drought when desperate northern farmers traveled south for grain, like biblical Israelites journeying to the Nile. Today, that legacy of survival has transformed into leisure, because the power plant recycles warm water back into the reservoir. The lake remains largely ice-free, creating a unique year-round sanctuary for anglers chasing largemouth bass when other local waters sleep beneath the frost. Unlike its federal neighbours, this is a place of private retreat. With 90 miles of shoreline dotted with homes and docks, the Lake of Egypt stands as a singular fusion of industry and recreation, where the hum of the power grid harmonizes with the quiet lap of waves against the shore. Illinois is a place where small towns, big cities, rivers and open land quietly connect to each other. Every road seems to carry a story shaped by history, work, and everyday life. From calm neighborhoods to busy downtown streets, the rhythm always feels steady and real. Thank you for traveling with us. See you on the next journey.